That was rocky. Alright, welcome to Ben's OP Game Show, recorded live 3 p.m. Pacific time every Friday, right here at twitch.tv/thegamefanatics. Something else is making noise. Everything breaks. I don't even remember what I was distracted by. But it was something. And it was for several minutes. And it just happened. Already forgot about it. On this week's show, I'm going to be talking about 1-2 Switch. Kind of looking in, diving in. Let's take an actual real look at it, right? And let's not just make fun of it. Let's see what it really is. And Nioh, which I love. But first, let's take a look at some of the top stories of the week. Even though there's not a lot going on. But there was one thing of particular interest. And that's what we'll get into. Yes, so we got, oh no. Oh, now you're gonna get it. Okay, solved that problem. So we got some more stuff for Mass Effect Andromeda, and it comes from an interview that someone did that I forgot about because the show's fucking falling apart for my eyes. But got some nice quote from Mac Walters here from the team. So I'm just gonna kind of go over it. This is regarding Paragon and Renegade. So start the quote out. Paragon and Renegade is gone, which is great. That's super incredible news. It should have been gone years and years and years ago. Because we don't need that. It's kind of ridiculous. It became way too much of a joke of kill this person or be their friend. Like it became way too one side versus the other side. And it also punished you for like not just choosing the one side. Very strange. And he kind of goes into that more with the quote. The reason they're gone is because they felt very Shepard. They were very tied to that Shepard character, so they didn't really make sense if we weren't going to have Shepard as our protagonist. Now here's where I have to stop this and say, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You didn't want to do that because it wasn't Shepard? Okay, hold on. No. That's the stupidest reason. Oh, it's not Shepard anymore, so we decided to revamp our system and make it way better? But if it was Shepard, you would have kept it the same? That's stupid. Why would you even say that? And if that's actually the reason, it's the dumbest idea. Do it, change your dialogue system because you have a better idea and you know how to make it better. Don't change it because you're like, oh, I guess we're not Shepard now and it felt like the Shepard should do that. Like, huh? That's so stupid. That is... However, this actually happening is great. And I do appreciate it. So let's move on to some more details about it. What we have now, this is the quote, is based more around agreeing and disagreeing. Sounds great. The reason I like that is because in the trilogy, it's like I'm going to play Paragon, and then you know which way you're moving the stick in every conversation. You don't have time. You don't have to think about it because you're just going to hit Paragon every time, which is what I already said. It's ridiculous. With agree and disagree, it changes by the circumstance, and it changes by the character you're talking to. So you have to actually be more engaged in what's going on to know if you're going to do that. Apparently, Shepard would have just been good or bad. He could have made these decisions, he or she, whatever. We've also added in 4 tones, and we'll talk a little more in the future. The game's out in 6 weeks. When are you gonna talk about it? But they basically allow for other types of characters to express themselves in one of 4 different ways, and sometimes one of 2 different ways. And I think that gets back to the more traditional role-playing sort of feeling, which is less about do I want to be good or bad, and more about how do I want to express myself. This is incredible. This is great, great news. I love all of it except for the part at the beginning about the Shepard. That's the stupidest. I still cannot get over that, how dumb that sounds. But I think the game looks great, and this new dialogue thing also looks great. However, we've yet to really see it in action. We've yet to see even a lot of this game in action. And I keep flip-flopping on the idea that I've been saying for almost a year now that this game will be delayed. And it could still very well be delayed. Who the hell knows? I don't know because I keep, it's like, oh, they keep talking about early access and when that's going to start, or EA access. And when's this going to happen? We got the pre-order bonuses and we got all this stuff. so it doesn't seem like it's going to be delayed. And then we get interviews like this talking about key parts of it. This would be like if the new Call of Duty was coming out in 6 weeks, and they're like, yeah, we're going to have space battles, but you ain't going to see them. It's half the game, though. We're not going to show them before the thing, though. It'd be really weird. It'd give you pause. This whole thing just gives me pause. That's all it is. It's not the end of the world or anything like that. It just gives me pause. Something's happening. Now, we've known that for months. We've known this the entire time. Something is afoot in Andromeda. But the dialogue choices, I can agree with. Don't lie out your ass and say it because it wasn't Shepard. Say it was because you made a better system, because you fucking did. Now with that, let's get into the topics of the week before my computer blows up and I screw up anything else. Let's take a look, not necessarily at random stuff, but let's take a look at 1-2-Switch, a game that I really have not liked much, but there was, I think it was on NeoGAF or Reddit or who the hell cares, from the Japanese website for 1-2-Switch, a collection of videos for 18 of the mini games, and we're not going to look at all of them. I've highlighted maybe about 10, I think, that we can kind of look at and see what they are and judge this game for what it really could be, if we can even call it a game. So this is the sword fight one. It's doing stuff. So you basically have two weirdos. Oh, no. I have to be fair. Two people. And you're sword fighting, right? And you can hold a button down, as I'll show you in a minute. You can hold a button down to guard. And it's like you're play sword fighting. That's actually kind of interesting. I think that could work in a way. It's not terrible. It's not amazing. It's definitely a minigame, and it is a minigame collection, so it fits in with all of that. I'm fine with that, okay? Okay, and that's the whole video for their sword fighting. Let's move on to the next one. And we're kind of going to get into my theme going forward with all of this. Joy-Con rotation. This game and the sword fighting game and a couple others that we'll get into, I think could be really interesting in a larger environment. So we'll get back to that. But this is, you pick it up, and I guess you have to pick it up slowly and whatever, and you're trying to see who can get furthest around the circle. Very smooth. You can see he screws it up somehow. I don't really know why. Because he pushed it and he didn't bend it right. You just got to keep it flat. Like, that's interesting. That's playing with the cool tech that's in the Switch controllers, Joy-Cons or whatever the hell you want to call them. I can get down with that. This is a mini game that would fit perfectly in a Fallout game as how to crack a safe or any heist thing. And there's actually a safe cracking thing. I think is the next one. But it's something you could see an application for in another game, in a larger game, in a Zelda game where you got to solve a puzzle and it's like, okay, put this down and do this thing to figure your way through it. And I'm a big fan of mini games like that, especially when you look at something like BioShock. I love the original BioShock's weird little pipe cleaner dream sequence, whatever, where when you're hacking. I love stuff like that. And stuff like this dial game, and then the safe cracker here, which this is my favorite of the guy, like he's not even moving his hand, it's just the dials moving. This is cool too. This is again, this fits in perfectly with what Bethesda does with Fallout and how they do their lockpicking. This is exactly that. Like, this is just an application in a different way. And you could even do things in 3D space with some of this. There's some really cool ideas here that I feel like is almost limited by the idea of making it a 1v1 party game, if that makes any sense. Like, it remains to be seen if there's any sort of, not narrative, but campaign or like challenge mode, or can you play this by yourself? Like, and granted, that could be on me. I'm not pursuing that. I'm not trying to see if there is anything else like that, because I'm just seeing these random things and kind of going with it, right? So this is another game, and I'm still not sure how it works. I know some Japanese, not enough Japanese to quite understand, and not enough amount of care to figure out exactly what's going on. But I think you could feel how many dice are in there. And so you can kind of be like, oh, you have a lot, and you can like bluff your opponent into thinking they have more dice in their cup than you do, and kind of stuff like that. Like, that's interesting. That's an interesting idea. But again, all these things are like, oh, that's interesting, and that's at best. At best, these ideas are interesting. At best, they're things that would fit better in a larger whole with some sort of actual mechanic, at least to me. Let's move on from this dice thing. She fakes him out and she wins. Spoilers. Then we get to ping pong, which kind of has the same problem that the sword fighting one did, because you couldn't see the swords, and now you can't see the ball, and it's just making these clacking noises as they go back and forth. It's a little, well, it's very silly. There's some mechanical depth in here with, like, you can do little lobs and, you know, whatever, but you can't see anything. And I understand that's the entire conceit of this is, you know, play by looking at your opponent, right? But I think you kind of go a little too far with some of these, and especially these were the good ones, all right? These were the good ones I picked to kind of show off, oh, this is something cool. Let's see what else we got, right? What these are good things that are here. I'm dying. I should mention I'm sick. What else do we have? Oh, we have Copy Dance, which reminds me of Suicide, and how terrible this is. I just hate it. I would never do this. I would do this as a joke once or twice. Who is playing this? Also, I question every bit of this. This thing is just feeling where it is. So all you literally have to do is go and point it in the same spot the other person did. So you don't have to do this weird dance. You don't have to do anything. This is also possibly one of the more egregiously acted ones. And it's not their fault. It's just everyone's fault. It's society's fault. I mean, we could go back in time. It's like Napoleon's fault. It's everyone's fault, right? Like it's everyone's fault that this copy dance thing even exists. Okay, and it only gets worse from here because there are several games. I included one, but there are several games like this one, Telephone, where you don't do anything. You're just waiting. Okay, so you're waiting for it to happen. You sit the thing down. The phone rings. It's about to ring, and you pick up the phone. That's it. Oh, that's it. Like, wait, were you waiting for something? Were you waiting for anything else? Were you waiting for a layer of complexity, of depth? No. Literally just touch the thing and put it and press a button on it faster than your opponent. Okay. Well, if one of your 28 minigames is that, I question everything. Because that's not the only one that was like that. I forget the other one, but there was another one. I didn't include the video because I thought it was silly to include so many of those. Here's another one. Count balls, right? In this one, you count balls. And so you're feeling around. You both can have the same number of balls in the controller. Let's stay very classy. And you kind of guess like, oh, 1, 2, 3, okay, it's 4 balls. That's nice. Again, this is another mini game that I think fits better in a larger whole. It's just like a sub thing you can do to get past an obstacle, similar to hacking in BioShock, like I mentioned. And you guess it, and then you're wrong. Crazy farmer man. Great. Okay. But now here, things start really going downhill. And everyone's seen this by now, this cow milking thing. I understand the application. And the idea that you could be doing, like pulling something. And imagine a VR scenario where you're in a headset and looking around and you're like pulling on something or like pulling yourself up. Like it has all this motion and all these extra buttons to do something more complex like this. It has that ability. Instead, we get this. Or this. Or whatever side it's on. And this is bad. This is real dumb. What is this? I love their promotion stills at the end of all of them. That's my favorite part. I also love they just put that up. That's their image. That's their YouTube thumbnail. I fucking love it. It's just a giant ass cow. I love it. I don't remember what this was called. I don't know that much Japanese. But it's basically sword catching. And again, you're just catching the sword. Like, look at it. You're just... How do you even know? It's just timing. And the other person, like, what? What's even happening? I question if this even works. I don't understand it. I clearly don't understand any of this game, but that's not even the worst part. So we can move on to the next one. Wizard. Oh, yes, it's joyous. Oh, it's real good. Yep. Get your friends together in your purple house and shoot wizards stuff at each other. Again, this is another one that you can't see anything, and I guess you're like, when you thrust, it does the counter. What's even happening? Who is playing this? How I couldn't be drunk enough to enjoy this after 5 minutes. Right? I don't get it. But that's not the worst, because we're not even at the end. We're not even at the end of all these. It gets worse, and we get to this one, which is, and I'll show you what I call it in a second. This one, now there's sandwiches. He's eating sandwiches, but it's an eating contest. When you think of eating contests, I think of hot dogs. So I refer to this game as the hot dog cunnilingus game. Look at it. This is official promotional, material, is how this is described. Oh, and it's something, right? Oh, it's very something. What do you do in this game? Oh, you just eat. Nom, 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 nom. Cool. I'm glad we spent thousands of dollars on this. I'm super glad about that. And that's the entire game. That's a mini game. Okay. What is even happening? How is this a thing? I haven't even brought up that this whole setup is $50. 28 mini games. There were 5 here that I was like, oh, that's cool. That's interesting. And the rest of them just spiral out of control into disarray very quickly. So let's look at this. Runway. And let's start to think of it critically. What is even being tracked in this game? Mini game. What is even being tracked? So they're posing and doing a little strut, right? And so it's tracking like your hip. Well, not even necessarily your hip movement. It's just your hand at your hip with the controller doing the motion. And then you pose. It's going to get into the middle here and they pose. And you're judged based on that. Where do you know to pose? How do you know to pose? What is... Her upset thing, though, is... I think that needs to be a GIF. I very much enjoy it. That's the best part about all this. About watching any of this. Because what is this? That's a thing? That's not the worst. This is the worst one. that a lot of people have seen. This is the worst one. Why? I should turn the sound back on. Because what even... Now, you're watching this demon baby with the scariest face. It looks closer to the baby in PT than it does an actual child. Which, by the way, was like an aborted fetus. Like, it wasn't even a real... Like, it was a horrifying thing in PT. That's what this baby looks like. And then we have to put it down. She slowly walks away. I don't know why. It doesn't sense where you are. How could it? And then it starts crying again and she rushes in. That's the game. What does that even mean? That's the game? No. No, 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 no. This is a $50 product that is beyond absurd. This should be... There should be no cost for it. They shouldn't even release this. They should hire someone to go back in time and blink it out of existence, because I think this could actually be detrimental. No one likes this. Everyone makes fun of this. It's so ridiculous. Having this as a pack-in would make it so much better, and everyone has said that to death. But look at the YouTube likes to dislikes on this. Not saying that that's really indicative of anything, but they sure as shit ain't positive. And you want to know why? Because no one wants to play this. Even WarioWare has this nice package of you're doing minigames and they get faster and faster and you don't even know what's going to happen next. And there's, what, like 100-something minigames in the first WarioWare? Maybe not that many, but way more than 28. What is even happening? Ugh. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying here? I don't. But it's just... I guess the only way it could get worse would be if it didn't launch with Zelda and this was the launch title. Because that'd be... Whew, that's a real cute coffin that you're nailing shut right there with your stupid baby-ass minigame. And there were other mini games in here. There were one where you ran and you were like shaking the thing in your hand. You're running and then it does a thing and you put your hand up. That was weird. I shouldn't have probably put my arm up like that. Okay. I just... Even with WarioWare, even with Nintendo Land, I can see some depth there. There's no depth here besides you're just getting drunk with a bunch of friends. And maybe because I just don't want to go outside and talk to anyone, I don't see the value there. But I'd rather, if I was going to get together with people and play games, I'd rather play a board game or Mario Kart or like any other game than any minigame collection. Even a WarioWare game together, like even that I don't necessarily want to play with other people. Like, I don't understand this. I guess that's at the end of the day, I don't understand this. And I don't understand why they're so like just so into it. But they're really into it. Maybe there's some more depth, like I said at the top of this. Adding some depth of like challenges or trials or something. Adding any kind of depth, because if this is literally just 18 mini games, let's play this again. If this is just 28 mini games all collected together with nothing else, and maybe a leaderboard or something for some of them. Yeah, Outlook not so good. Okay, Outlook not so good in your demon baby. Get that thing checked out. Your baby should not look like that. Also, why'd you paint your entire house pink? You're a psycho. Although I will give them credit. They have really great production value. And I like seeing the same actors in different ones. I was like, now they're milking people. Now she's got a baby. I do like that. It's dumb. It's so dumb, though. We'll just have to wait and see what the other 10 are. I'm excited. I'm very excited to see what the other 10 minigames are, because can it get worse? Can it get worse? going of Nioh. The late, the great Nioh. Well, not the late, but definitely the great. So I loved the alpha, the beta, the last chance trial, whatever. And this is footage of the first level, the first real level of me going through it for maybe the 4th or 5th time. I don't really know. I played just a ton of it between all those betas, alphas, whatever. And out of the way, best game I played last year, maybe the best game I played this year. I don't know, still early, but super awesome, great, I love it. I have some issues, and the issues primarily are self-created. Because I spent about 20 hours playing the game through these various trials and have played the bulk of the first 3 levels, including one of the side missions was in the beta, and then all the little sub-missions so far have been new, except for that one. The 3rd level, the last half of it is new, and then the 4th level was all new. Anyway, I've died once on a boss. So like any of the bosses I've played before, I didn't die on, including this first one, including the next one. And it's not even like I'm over leveled, and I'm not even trying to say like I'm so much better or this game's too easy. I'm just really confused because like I remember the first time I played this, right? And there is a lot to learn, and it's reminiscent to Demon Souls in that it doesn't feel quite like what you might expect. So even if you've played a bunch of Souls games, it can take 20-30 minutes just to understand like, okay, this is the moment to moment gameplay of how I should play it. But I looked back at me playing this first area for the first time, and it took me, I don't know, 4 hours almost. Let's just say 4. I don't even know the right answer. 4 hours, including about 45 minutes on this boss to get through it for the first time. Not this time, because I've done it 16,000 times. And I see people on Twitch, and I see people across the internet, including, not to name names, but Polygon explicitly states this in their why the review was delayed. I don't even know if they have reviewed it yet. I don't really care. But they explicitly state, oh, it can take 8 hours to get to the main menu screen, right? Which means you beat this level after 8 hours of playing the game. And I've seen other people, just normals, that sounds mean, but just normal people, day-to-day people who said they've beaten Dark Souls and all that, spending hours on this boss, on this stage, trying to get through it. And it's hard for me to necessarily relate on 2 levels. Because I have beaten this stage, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. By the time this game came out, I played through this level 4 times and beaten that boss 4 times, including the Twilight version in the beta. So I know what to expect. I know exactly what to do. And I get to this point, but it's not, I just don't, I'm not saying the game's easy or that the game should be harder. I'm saying I see people play this game and they're not playing it right. Is that right to say? I mean, sure, I've played a lot. Oh, this is really cool. Headshot. Just killed that guy. I played a lot of the game. I get that. But I finally got to a new stage, an entirely new stage, the 4th stage in the game. It's a mine. There's poison everywhere. My upstairs neighbors are moving chairs around because they think it's fun to move chairs around at all hours of the day. You can hear them. I hear you. I finally get to this new stage. I didn't die once on that stage. I didn't die once. Didn't die against the boss. Just kind of cruised through it. Now, granted, I might be a little over-leveled because I've only lost my Emerita or whatever, which are your souls, essentially. I've only lost them once, and I didn't even lose super that many. I've only died, 13 to 15 times, maybe? In the entire 10 hours of the game so far. That's how many times I've died. One was in the large tutorial area. One was when I fell off a cliff because I just ran off a cliff because I'm stupid. You know what I mean? One was against the boss, which was not necessarily a new boss, but kind of new because of the arena. The after Nioh. Anyway, that's getting too much into the weeds. I've died a fair amount of times. It's all stupid reasons, but I see people playing this game just dying, just not understanding like the rules. And I it's not even like, oh, you haven't played a Souls game so you don't know. These are people who say they've beaten Dark Souls 1 and 2 and Bloodborne, and they don't understand like flanking or like dodging behind. Like you'll see when I fight the boss here, how I'm constantly maneuvering around him and dodging his abilities that way. And you'll also see my upstairs neighbor get their house burned down because they're moving furniture. This is carpeted. This floor is carpeted. How can you make that much sound? What are you even moving? I think they vacuum / move their furniture every week, which is psychotic. I understand being clean and whatever. Every week, you're gonna move your furniture to vacuum? It's an apartment. You don't own the place. So anyway, I don't understand where people are saying like, oh, these bosses, there's a lot of talk about this too. The bosses are too difficult. The boss fights take too long. The boss fights are this. The levels are too easy, but the bosses are too hard. I'm like, this is too hard. This is too hard. This is too this. This is too that. And I'm like, I think the game by and large is appropriately difficult. It's not super hard at all. There are moments that are like, oh, I fucked it up and that's on you, and sure. But it's largely, there's a lot to learn, and maybe that's what it is. It's just I learned it all. I learned all the stances. I learned what to do at different moments. I know exactly like, oh, when they're with no key, you can just attack them and auto stuns them, including bosses. So when a boss loses all their key, fucking go nuts. That is when it's time to do combos, to summon your little familiar guy and to do combos on them, because they can't retaliate if you're hitting them when they're in that state. And that's something I see a lot of people who've even played the game for 8 hours and have gotten through this boss finally. They don't know yet. But that's something I picked up on. Like, I didn't read a guide. I didn't read 10 things you should know about Nioh, right? I saw a trailer for it and I played the alpha. And I learned all these things in my 4 hours with this first stage, the first time I did it, way back in March or May last year. Anyway, this is all rambling and very, I don't know, elitist and stupid. Because I do think the game's great. I think it adds a lot of layers to the Souls formula in terms of like leveling up your skills and stuff like that. There's titles to earn, which weren't in the alpha or the beta. So it's basically doing different challenges like kill 50 enemies of this type, and you get some points, and if you unlock enough points in those categories, you get these little minor skill boosts, little stat boosts to your character overall. And it might be something very minor like 0.5% fall damage reduction. Like, it's very minor, but over the course of the game, if you've leveled it up, 15-20 times, you could get some decent little buffs, right? You're still not done moving furniture? No? Okay. I just love, what are you doing? I will say again, carpeted. The floor is carpeted. Also, if you can move something around with such vigor, you can lift it. It's not that heavy, right? So lift it. Don't just push it around like a savage. Anyway, so I took this to heart. All this weird difficulty talk. And me being, and this is actually a game I'm good at? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Am I good at something? I don't believe it. So I streamed the first 2 levels of the game, and I played them without leveling up. And I beat this boss without leveling up, just using new equipment. And now granted, at the end of the fight, he threw one of his balls outside of the arena. So he like got stuck. It was a very interesting glitch, which I need to, maybe someone needs to know about. He can throw his ball out of the arena and then he doesn't know what to do. And then he kind of eventually figures out what to do. But I beat the second boss, the entire second level and the second boss at level 1. And that's a fucking good fight. You're dodging moves, you're doing all this stuff. Maybe this is just the game for me. Maybe this is finally the game. I'm patient enough, I'm slow enough. I know exactly the moment when to strike and when to to hold back. It's the game that's perfectly paced for me and the way I play a fighting action game like this. I'm also a huge fan of Ninja Gaiden, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, like all those games. I got a platinum in Bloodborne, and I very much want to get the platinum in this game because it's great. And the biggest problem I have with this game, also no one's using magic correctly, very few people. The only problem I have with this game is in part that I've played so much of it before. It's, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4 stages? I've played 4 stages of this game, and then 3 Twilight versions of those same stages already. Right? I've already played that. Now, granted, there's a lot more to this game, but I've already played so much of it from the alpha and the beta that it remains. It's a little weird since I've done this so many times. However, it's still a ton of fun. I mean, I went through, and the Twilight stages in this were like glitched. They're just harder versions of the same stages. But it kept getting ones on the side, and it's like recommended level 120. And I'm like, well, that's not supposed to be here. And today it finally unlocked. It's like recommended level 18. I'm like, well, that's more in line. I'm like level 38 now, but I finally can do the Twilight version of this stage. And I did it. And I fought this. Now, I was over leveled, sure, because the game didn't give me the mission. Beat this guy without getting hit. It's not that crazy. You know exactly what to do. They telegraph their attacks. And you can block. Like, this game is not Dark Souls with blocking. You can fucking block, okay? And block basically all damage most of the time. And you can dodge roll very easily. They've nerfed this boss in particular. This is what I'm talking about with damaging with the skill at the right moment. You can damage... I don't know where I was going. Who the fuck cares? They nerfed this guy because he used to throw the balls, and then you'd have to dodge after he threw it, otherwise the ball would suck onto you. Super annoying, but they changed that. They've made it easier. They've made it more approachable. And so I guess I'm just confused, and this goes back to the notion of that Doom video, which again Polygon did, the first hour of Doom, where you watch it and you're like, how can anyone play any game like this? Any game at all. Not even saying that you have to be good at games to play them or to review them or to whatever. But like, that's really bad. Like, there's a difference between saying like, oh, I'm really bad at like League of Legends or something because I don't play it, but like I'm not super good at those games. There's a difference between that and like just straight up going into the jungle and fighting the boss, little boss monster that's in there, and dying. Like, there's a big difference between not knowing what you're doing and being a complete moron. And I also wonder if how much of that is the case. Like, if it took the reviewer, I don't know who the reviewer is at Polygon, but they clearly didn't play the alpha and the beta. And maybe that's fine and whatever, but it seems like so many people that are reviewing this game haven't been playing it, like haven't been paying attention, aren't big Souls fans. I even see, this is why I stopped watching. I can't watch anyone play Dark Souls or Bloodborne. I just can't. I can't watch them do it because it's so bad. I watched someone stream the beginning of this game and they weren't locking on to people. And I was like in the chat going like, why aren't you locking on to people? And they're like, oh yeah, I forgot about it. You forgot about it. The whole game is about having one-on-one duels with other people. You forgot that you can lock on to them. It's absurd, some of the things that are happening. And then going back to Dark Souls, that's why I can't watch videos. I can't watch, oh, here's us playing the first 15 minutes of Dark Souls. And I'm like, y'all bunch of noob scrub idiots. I can't take it. You're not locking on. You're not dodging appropriately. You're being way too aggressive. You're not blocking. Like, you're going around a corner like, wah! Like, no, why are you doing it like that? I understand falling into traps and not knowing they're there. There's a big difference between that and just running around like Leroy Jenkins. There's a big difference. And I keep seeing that more and more. And maybe I'm just the exception, that I play games way too slow and way too methodically, that I'm looking at all these little details. I'm playing this super slow. Like, I beat that boss. That was the first time I fought the boss in the full game. No problem. Like, I made some mistakes. Sure, I haven't fought him in 6 months or something. You know, I haven't fought that boss in forever. No, not a real problem. Next boss, not a real problem. Next entire level that had a new part, not a problem. The whole level after that, no problem. I think this hyperbole of it being so hard, the bosses being so hard, is way out of control. Way out of control. I would actually, I don't know, but see, even saying that, I don't want it harder. I don't want the game to be harder. It doesn't need to be harder, because clearly people can't play it already. And it goes back to what I said. This problem I have with it, of me not having a hard time yet, and it's still early, I play about 10, 12 hours. But again, my 10, 12 hours is 4 whole stages into the game, 2 Twilight missions, all the submissions, and everything completed. Like, I'm like level 45 or something. I don't even know. No, it doesn't matter. Right? Like, that's my 12 hours versus the not to bring up Polygon again. I like Polygon. I'm not like, yay, I don't have a t-shirt with Polygon on it, but I like Polygon. And even, well, I'll bring up someone else. Colin Moriarty's playing it at Kind of Funny, and he mentioned he's about 8-10 hours into the game, and he was fighting the same boss. So his 12 hours into the game and my 12 hours into the game, way fucking different. The review on IGN mentions you could probably complete, I think it was IGN, you could complete everything. There was like 100 hours to do all the main story and all the side missions. And I'm like, that sounds awesome, but I don't think that's gonna reach the pinnacle to me. And I've yet to see a single review. I haven't looked explicitly for this. I've yet to see a single review explicitly state like, oh, I played the alpha and the beta. Because I'd love to see a review from that person who goes into it. Are those people also saying it's still really hard? I don't know. I don't even know if I have a point, to tell you the truth. This is just something I've wanted to talk about. And again, I created this. I'm the one who played 20 hours between the alpha, beta, and the last chance. I played those things because I played the alpha and thought this game is incredible and I love it and I can't wait to play more of it. So of course, give me a beta, give me a last chance, whatever. I'll play more. Yeah, it does seem like that, but it seems like something people will have different experiences with. Yes, but I think it's even bigger than that, because so many people so I played a lot of the beta, alpha, whatever. At where I was at 2.5 hours into the game is where some people are 8 hours into the game. That's an absurd difference, right? Like, that's, if this game is 40 hours for me, it could be 60 to 80 hours to other people. That's absurd. That's a huge difference. That's a quantum leap in disparity, right? That's not normal. That's not a normal thing. Like, I can play, let's say, Dragon Age Inquisition, which I played a lot of, and I did a lot of the side missions, and I explored a little areas and had a lot of fun with it. And I did that in about 80 hours. And I hear other people like, I'm playing for 120 and I still haven't found everything. In a game like that, there's exploration you can do. There's different combat situations you can do. This is pretty linear. Like, this is follow the map, and just as long as you don't die, and you should learn something even if you do die about the scenario you're going into, you shouldn't have too much of a problem eventually overcoming it. It seems like this might be, as I kind of stated about 10 minutes into the rant ago, this might be the perfect game for me. It might be the perfect how I play games game, because everything clicks, from like how the combat works to how the bosses work, where the checkpoint shrines are. Everything just clicks together. Like, oh, that's over there. I know where this is. I know it's very much, I played a lot of the Ninja Gaiden games, so I know, I'm familiar with kind of how they do levels. It feels very familiar, especially this Ninja Town feels very Ninja Gaiden-y. And I think it's great, even with my complaints that it's just weird. It's weird that I'm having not a very difficult time. Not that it's been super easy, but it's like completely overblown, largely. And not even that it needs to be hard. It's also, maybe that's the problem I have with it. Because I'm a big Souls fan, I hear people say, like, oh, they played Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1 and 2 and Bloodborne, and they're having a lot of trouble with this. It's like, man, you play this for 2 hours, you should be you should be right in it. You should be right in it and know exactly what it is, because it's very much, it's a completely different rule set from Souls, but it's like applied knowledge. You should know all those things. It carries over. And it just doesn't seem like it's carrying over as much. I really should find a review that mentions the reviewer playing the alpha and the beta, because I'd love to hear that. I haven't talked with anyone who's been as super into Nioh as I have this entire time, what their opinions on it are. Because I'm cruising to the, well, not really cruising, I'm doing all the side stuff, so it's like takes forever because I'm doing these side missions that I already did. Oh, and it's so dumb too, because you got little bonuses for completing the alpha or completing the beta, and it's just armor. It's just armor that's good at the beginning, but if you were good enough to beat the alpha or the beta, you don't need that armor, I would imagine. It's just weird. It's just strange. It's a great game though. I'm kind of talking a lot about things that don't matter, because at the end of the day, I think the game's fantastic. I think if you're scared away by the difficulty, you don't necessarily need to be. You can probably read a little guide or tips list of something and take it to heart, watch some videos, and really learn what to do. Like, you can see me here, like, I just like fucking don't care. Like, oh, just kill this guy. Like, whatever. Every single enemy is so predictable. Like, when you get hit, you know why. You know the three, like, oh, this guy's gonna do a 3-hit combo. I just wait till the end of the 3-hit combo, and it's done. Like, here, let's watch me fight this guy. Okay, so he's got his little thing. Now you attack when he's done, and you go circle around him, do a little thing to get rid of the orb on the ground, which drains your ki. Keep fighting him. Now his stamina's drained. Do a special move on him. His stamina's still drained. You can keep attacking him with no penalty. I fucked up because I was too aggressive, and I got hit. Right? That's what happened. You get too aggressive, you get hit. Now he's doing this again. Dodge out of the way, and you hit him again. Oh, like that was so difficult. Especially when you can block most of this. Like, you don't even have to really do advanced maneuvers. Like, there's parrying and stuff like that. I don't do it. I can't do stuff like that. I've never been able to do the repost stuff in Dark Souls. I'm terrible at it. So I don't do it. But he does that attack, and now you can attack. And don't be too aggressive, because he's going to attack you again. Very slow and steady wins the race. That's all it is. This fight takes, what, a minute? And it's not a normal enemy. This is an enemy that you'll fight and kill, and then he'll be gone for good. You bait him in. He does his 2 moves, and you kill him. And see, now his key's red again, and you can keep fighting him, and you can chop off his head. Done. Oh, the loot is fantastic. That's another layer besides the leveling up and the skill system. The loot. It's a Destiny loot system or a Diablo loot system layered onto a Souls game, which is really cool. Super, super cool. I really appreciate that. And he's got these cute little frogmen. How could you not like the frogmen? Come on. Come on. And this is a side mission too that takes you to a level you've already done, but it puts the start point in a different area, and like other sections are blocked off, so the path is different. Really like it. It does a great job of putting you back in those same areas again and kind of letting you see them in a different way. So I don't know. I have to come back to this. I have to play a ton more of it, beat it, and then be like, okay, y'all a bunch of whiners, the game's not too hard. Or come back and be like, okay, I got to a point where I was flummoxed. But it remains to be seen. Also, I love shooting these weirdos. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of stuff too that I just don't think people read. It doesn't do itself any favors with some of this stuff, like the key pulse doesn't explain it very well, especially in the alpha. I was like, huh? Then they explained it in the beta a little better. They've learned a lot. But see, look, you can fight all these guys. Like, it's no big deal. I got my lightning sword. These guys don't do shit. That guy's stunned now. That guy's almost dead. You gotta kill that one. Chop that one to bits. It's done. Merry Christmas. dead bodies. All right, that's the show. Every Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, twitch.tv/thegamefanatics. Probably going to be Nioh for a while. And could you stop making noise? On my own channel, twitch.tv/BenReacts, I play Super Mario Maker. And this last Wednesday, I played through the first two levels of the first two levels of Nioh, not leveling up, and I beat them. And I might continue that just to see how far I can go. Probably not much further. You should hope it difficulty picks up. Doesn't sound like fun. I'm not cruising so much. I'm kind of cruising. I have like 1 death per hour on average, which seems low when you're talking to people. I haven't lost a lot of souls or whatever. Like really, I've only lost souls once in my entire play. But I like it. It's still fun. It's still challenging enough. It's not like it's easy. It's just I know what it's doing. Like, oh, this guy's going to do his 3-hit attack. Let me back up and attack. Okay, let me wait. I know exactly what he's going to do, right? Like once the game starts adding in new enemies, then I'll be like, okay, now what's going on? But at this point, nothing's been new in terms of enemies. There was a new boss that I fought, but I don't know. I do hope it does pick up in difficulty, but even saying that, it doesn't need to pick it up much. It can just be a little more, and I think it will be. Once it gets to stuff that I haven't seen before, it should... I mean, there was that whole level, the whole new level. I didn't even die in it. But there's harder versions. There's harder versions of the level. I think there's a new game plus. The game's fantastic. I want to get the platinum anyway, so I'm going to be playing the shit out of it. It's a ton of fun. I just kind of think everyone's being a little baby. But I don't know. I also do very much enjoy destroying all the pottery and everything else that's associated with that. Like this. You just, okay, he's doing his attack, right? Now he has no key. Attack him. Do your special move. He's dead. Like, it's just, all it is learning what to do. It's like playing poker. As soon as you know the rules for poker, you're fucking playing poker, right? Like, that's all it is. Okay, this guy's gonna be here. He's gonna fall down there. I can do this attack on him. I even messed that up. It doesn't even matter because he was so dead. The game's great, though. I should write a guide for this. At a certain point, I played through this stupid level so many goddamn times. Just do this, stupid. Okay. Even the boss I didn't die in that was new was really cool. And I would have rathered have failed. And maybe I do want it to be much harder. Because, like, I would have rather failed and had to see it again and see his entrance and, like, try and learn some things. Because even though I've beaten, Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne... Even though I've beaten those, like, there'd be points in Dark Souls 3 that I got stuck. Like, this boss sucks. I hate fighting him. And, like, this is hard. And the same goes for Bloodborne. And the same goes for Dark Souls 2, even though I played all the prior Souls games. But at this point, it hasn't happened yet. There was one optional boss fight that is tricky and was in the beta that's super annoying that I abuse kind of the AI. Where there's a rock in the arena that you can circle around. That's the only way I can do it. I feel like the rock's there intentionally for you to do that. But whatever. Even that fight, I think I died 3 times. Like, I eventually figured out, like, oh, if I hide like this, I learned all his... I don't know. That fight sucks. Also, that fight really sucks. That fight's terrible. I don't agree with it at all. Like, reduce his damage and give him more HP, and it would have been super cool. But he does way too much damage, and it's not fun. For the winning strategy, for me to be, like, super cheesing the fight, and I don't see any other way to do it legit that isn't a horrible, not fun experience. Fight's not for me. Not for me. I do enjoy shooting people in the head. You could shoot people's heads off with arrows. It's a fucking good game. All right, the show's over. It's a good game. I'm a whiny baby too in this too. Whining about everyone else complaining about whining. Like, it's something. Click it.